I have done a video previously on the various ways that you can easily electrify a bicycle that you have, especially if you have a Brompton. But all of the other bikes that I recommend on this channel can be electrified. You can electrify a Birdy, a Moulton, even a Tuxi, even a cargo bike. So what I would like to do in this video is to take a deeper look as to the kind of approaches you can take and the variety of kits and options you have now on the market. As always, I am providing links below, so if you are interested in any of the products mentioned in this video, all you need to do is scroll down and click. Now the first, most obvious kit to do is to get a front wheel, a powered front wheel kit. And I have said this before, I'll say it again. I think for most people who don't want to get into this very deeply, people who don't want to tune or overclock the bike, they are just looking for a way to electrify and to empower an existing mechanical bike or a mechanical bike they are planning to buy in a way that's easily reversible with easy installation, halfway decent support from the company. I don't think there is a better way that you can go than to get a Swytch kit. The Swytch has been tried on the Brompton. Many people have installed it. It can be installed on the Moulton as well, not on the Birdy. The Birdy has a unique front suspension design that will simply not tolerate a powered wheel. It would just rip apart your front suspension. But the Birdy's front is a very unique design. I would say it is the most interesting, most sophisticated and powerful front suspension there is for a two-wheeler of any kind on the market. And you can definitely electrify the bike, but not with the Swytch kit. So what you get with the Swytch is easy installation, a relatively small size of the hub. A big, heavy, massive hub, even if it fits a Brompton or whatever you're riding, is not as good. For example, the one I have, which is an 8-pound Crystalite hub, it's an excellent hub. I swear by it. It can go so fast. It can regenerate so much energy on downhills. But, there's not much space left between the rim and the hub. So it's really hard to get in and to inflate the tire. In fact, I had to buy elbow extensions for the valves, at least for the front. So the Swytch is your first option. You have a small, manageable, powered hub. You have a controller that's merged pretty much with the battery and the computer. The battery is kind of separate. It pops on it. There's a snap. You snap it on, snap it off. And you can buy many batteries. It's only 36 volts, but I think that's enough, especially if you have just like a 25-pound folding bike. A 250-watt hub at 36 volt is not earth-shaking, but it's going to help you tremendously in taking uphills, accelerating, and so on. And the top speed is 20 miles an hour, which is so much better than what the Brompton Electric offers. It's a 30% upgrade from that. Imagine that. If you want something more intense for the front wheel, something that allows you to overclock, to have regenerative braking, to have an open computer that allows you to get inside and program the controller to do all kinds of amazing things, such as measuring the temperature of the motor and automatically switch it off in case the motor is beginning to overheat, or to set the extent to which you want regenerative braking to function. All of these things, they can only be done with a much more sophisticated setup, and that's why I recommended the Grin Kit. Grin has ready-made kits for the Brompton. If you have a Moulton, they can certainly work with you. You can give them the wheel size or even send in the front wheel. and they will send you back the rebuilt wheel with the hub motor in it. Now, for the Birdy, I would, if you want to electrify the wheel, I would also recommend that you take out the rear wheel and you send it over to Grin, and you negotiate with them and have them install the kit that you want. You can have as much power as you want, but just keep in mind the size of that hub motor. The bigger it gets, the harder it's going to be to fit into the kit. But Grin is going to advise you, so I don't think there's a problem there. If they need to replace the rim with something stronger, it's still going to be the same size. So the safest way is to actually send the wheel that you have in your bike over and have them set this up. Now, these are typical home installations. Front wheel, that's the easiest. You can easily reverse it if you need to travel with the bike or whatever. The rear wheel is not so easy, partly because if you want to reverse it, first of all, you're probably going to have a cassette on it, some kind of cogs. So if you have a mechanical wheel in storage, that's also going to have the cassette and everything on it. I mean, it's doable, certainly, but it's not as easy as working on the front. Front is very easy, rear not so much. So the second solution that I want to talk about is a center drive. Most of the center drives are really ugly, as powerful as they are. The benefit of them is that, first of all, they have enormous torque. The difference between a hub drive and a center drive is the difference between trying to use a scissor by pressing it together close to the screw in the center, as opposed to pressing it together using the end where you're supposed to use where you're supposed to handle a scissor. So the torque you get by not powering the hubs, the wheels, but by powering the crank indirectly is far superior to what you can do with a center a wheel hub design. And this is typically good for people who need to take nasty uphills. If you live in San Francisco, you do a lot of off-roading, you ride a mountain bike, those are the kind of people that the center drive kits have been invented for. And there is an Italian kit. It's called bike, a weird kit, that is not bad looking. I mean, most of these center drive kits are really not good looking, but at least this is one that looks pretty good. In addition, there are some other options that you have. There is a German-made center kit, which also has been fitted to the Brompton. It's called Appendix. It's not very powerful, but 250 watts at the center is probably as good as a 350 or even 400 at the wheel would be. It's an elegant kit for a center drive. It looks pretty good. Unfortunately, the speed is limited to only 15 an hour. But, I mean, that's the same thing you would be getting with the standard Brompton electric. And everything is custom-made batteries. They give you a sense of how much power you have in them. It's a neat-looking kit, but because everything is made by the company, everything is custom, you can't really tune it or get into it, do anything with it, and the price is high. Plus, I think for the most part, you'll have to buy everything from Germany. The cheapest of these kits starts at around $1,700, and it goes well above $2,000. So it's not a cheap way to electrify a bike. And the battery, even though it's kind of stylish, the way they stick it onto the tube of the average folding bike is kind of disturbing. It's not very aesthetic. In fact, the kit, I think in general, these center drive kits pretty much ruin the aesthetic of most bikes, especially a smaller bicycle, such as the Brompton or the Birdy. So it's up to you. These are great kits if you need to climb, need to do off-roading. So it's good for that. Not my first choice. Definitely not. So if you don't want to do the center drive, don't want to do the front wheel or the rear wheel, the last option you have is some kind of a friction drive. Friction drive is available. There are a zillion kits to do this. In general, touching the tire directly with some kind of a friction application is a really dirty application, because the tire is going to be full of mud. If you go into any kind of a dirt or even sand, the friction drive is going to just spray it all over you. It's also not a very secure connection. It easily slips. It causes a wear on the tire. So these kits are not the best choice. I think they are actually a pretty poor choice for a bicycle, but they can be a good choice for a scooter. A number of people have done installations of these kits on the Zooter, and the Zooter has an option with the wooden deck, and the wooden deck is really easy to drill, so you can easily install a kit like that. And I think it's great to have a Zooter that has some electric power, even if you are only good for 10 miles. 10 miles is a lot of distance, and most people don't do that much of a distance on a tiny scooter like that. So it's great for those kinds of applications. For bicycles, I would not recommend them. And then finally, I should review some weird and unusual kits. There are kits, there was something, a German kit that was sold a while ago, and there were some copycats as well. This German kit was supposed to hide the fact that you had an electric conversion by inserting both the batteries and the motor into the tube of an average full-sized bike. So this is not really a kit for a Brompton or a Birdy. It was really a kit for full-sized bicycles, and there were some custom-made batteries that just fit into the tube. The bottom bracket also had to be replaced. This kind of a kit is totally hidden. There's no way to tell that there is a kit on the bike, and it's very lightweight. Typically, the entire setup is less than 4 pounds, but because you have to replace the bottom bracket and the batteries are custom sized, custom made, the price of this setup was close to $3,000 for the cheapest. And I don't know if any of these kits are still on the market, because these came around 15-20 years ago when the law was not so kind to electric bikes, and a lot of people tried to hide them. There was also a possibility of using them for races at the Tour de France and other races. And in fact, some of the competitors' bikes had been x-rayed by the organizers on suspicion that they had something like this installed. So this is just a fun tidbit that I wanted to add on. You're probably not going to get a $3,000 kit like this, even if you can get it used or whatever anywhere. I think most of these companies are by now gone. So your options are really front wheel, rear wheel, center, or in some cases even a friction drive. And that's all you can do. I'm not aware of much else that you could do. As far as getting prefab bicycles, most of them are gravitating toward the center drive. There are various reasons for this. One reason is that if you have a center drive, even though you cannot undo it, you cannot reverse it easily, it's very easy to fix a flat, to remove the front or rear wheel, to work on the wheels without having to interact with the drivetrain. And there's really no reason to touch the center drive very much. Most people use the same chain wheel for years and decades. The bottom bracket also is not frequently replaced. So it's a pretty reliable and solid way to electrify a bicycle. The downside of it is that there's absolutely no brake regeneration possible, because for that you would have to be directly in the wheel. This is it for the current video. I hope I help you get going with this. In case you want to build a bike of your own or want to electrify a bike that you already have, keep in mind I bought my bike in 2017 and I spent at least a year researching everything, and I bought the bike and the kit roughly at the same time. So I had the planning and everything worked out before I purchased any hardware. And I recommend that you do that. You should take your time and look around on the market and make sure you have the details correctly before you get to work. This is it for now, and I'll be back a few days from now with the next video.